One winter's night when the cold wind blew, the engines found it hard to sleep. What we need, suggested Toby, is to listen to a story. Driver told me a story, said Thomas, so everyone listened.
Told you a story, huh? What could it possibly be about? I actually think during storms like this, it would be better to just sleep. Why do I say this? Because it's still winter. Really, the engines could just have duck talk about everything Great Western, and that'll make everyone want to snooze. Really, though, the story Thomas begins to tell actually takes place in a different setting, involving 3 narrow-gauge engines.
Their names were Duke, Stuart, and Falcon. Duke was the oldest, and was named after His Grace, the Duke of Sodor. He was proud of this and loved to keep the little engines in order.
Well, we are already starting Season 4 with things I'm enjoying. First, we got summer-like weather conditions. Aw, yeah. Second, we have different locations to point out. Plus, there are new characters to learn about. And lastly, with new characters comes new musical motifs. Although I don't quite get Carlin's pronunciation. He can say Duke and Stuart fine, but Falcon. It's Falcon. He sounds like he's saying Falcon. What kind of name is Falcon?
Stuart and Falcon used to call him Granpuff. They were fond of him, but they got very tired of hearing all about His Grace. Sometimes they would tease him and chant, "Engines come and engines go. Granpuff goes on forever."
That's cute. Being that they're narrow-gauge engines and all, their tiny sizes make them all the more Munchkin-like. It's also nice to see that these two care for an older engine. That wasn't really depicted in the last 3 seasons. But then again, no episode ever showed a really old engine either. Stuart and Falcon enjoyed teasing Gramps, but he told them a story about another narrow-gauger who learned the hard way when he played around too much.
"I warned him to be careful, but he took no notice."
"Listen, Dookie,"
he snarled.
"who worries about a few spills?"
"We do here," I said, but Smudger just laughed. Until one day, manager said he was going to make him useful at last. Smudger stopped laughing then.
What exactly happened to Smudger? According to Dookie Boy, he was revamped into a generator. Of course, that quickly put Stuart and Falcon on their best behavior, even though they weren't that troublesome to begin with. But hey, it's not like Smudger was scrapped or something. That's far worse, I would think. But getting back to more lighthearted things, let's listen to that wonderful Skarloey Railway theme, shall we? And yet even after that, we have to go back to disappointment because as time passed, the old mine became obsolete and was closed down. Soon after that, the railway these engines ran on became closed too. And like any foreclosure, things were sold off, which included Falcon and Stuart. Sorry to say though, old Duke was not on that wanted list. He was considered out of date to be useful. I think not. Except I did find it odd that Duke never had front-end buffers. Maybe that's why he was rejected.
Yeah, boss. He has no front-end buffers. He's only half useful.
"Cheer up, Granpuff," called Stuart. "We'll find you a nice railway, and then you can come and keep us in order." They tried to be brave and cheerful, but no one really thought their dreams would come true.
So with one last goodbye, Duke was prepared as if he was going to run, but was instead rolled into a small shed. His driver and fireman could do no more. They were out of a job and had to find another engine to operate on another railway. Luckily, Duke did not take the situation to heart and did what he could to feel comfortable. Sleeping the days, months, years, God knows, eons away, nothing changed for Duke. Meanwhile, everything surrounding his shed on the outside did.
You wouldn't have known a shed was there, let alone a little engine asleep inside.
"That's not a happy ending,"
cried Percy. "Ah," murmured Thomas. "There will be one, but that'll have to wait until next time."
That's pretty much my reaction to this story. Well done, Percy, you read my mind. But aside from this story being a 2-parter as the drawback, this was a great introduction for the next set of stories to come. 4 seasons in, and we are finally taking a shift in focus and looking at another place on the island of Sodor. We've watched all kinds of stories happen in the last few seasons. Here, though, we have a fresh start of new characters and a cameo from Skarloey and Rheneas. Duke, Falcon, and Stuart are a likable trio, at least from what we have seen so far. What's interesting to see is that even in the narrow gauge world, the little engines are just as cheeky and naive like their larger scale counterparts. Even though Duke is also small, I would assume he's considered wiser not only because of him being an older model, but also because he has a tender, which instantly makes him a bigger engine. Remember that line Diesel said in the Tender Engines episode?
The number of tenders on a steam engine is a mark of distinction.
We also got a quick glimpse of what happens to engines who misbehave on this particular railway too, that being Smudger as the example. It's also funny that in the Railway series, Smudger was given an American accent to emphasize the carelessness of the West Coast. Of course, for the US dub, they had to change that. What I'd also like to know is, where did Thomas's driver hear this story? He must know some high-end people, or was involved with this at some point. As for Duke, it's amazing how much he had to cope with, losing everyone and everything he had, all to be abandoned in a shed that would later become overgrown. It's sad, but at least he didn't feel like crap. Music and set pieces were a joy to see here. Yeah, Tidmouth Sheds was shown, but who cares right now about that? Locations like Skarloey Station, Glennock Station, the Slate Quarry, Rheneas's Viaduct, and Arlesdale are all great places. The best ones I find to be the most gorgeous were Rheneas's Viaduct, of course, and Arlesdale. What's more to like about Arlesdale is the fact that there's so much mountain surrounding the area, and yet there are so many different sidings. And aside from the Trust Thomas episode, when was the last time we got another area of Arlesdale shown? Exactly. As for music, we got one new and one recycled theme. The reused musical cue is Henry's Forest theme when time begins to pass as Duke is in his shed coma. It's appropriate since it involves growing shrubbery, but I still feel like that should be only for Henry's Forest. It's called that for a reason. The new cue we got though was the Skarloey Railway, which in itself is recognizable to any fan because of how unique it sounds, thanks to Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell. It emotes a confident innocence. Definitely looking forward to more of this. Next episode is Sleeping Beauty. Thanks for watching.